We have a huge NFL weekend with some big games, and we are going to preview all of them here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Make no mistake about it, it is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On NFL Barbershop Show that you can find here each and every day on the Locked On Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts. Whether you watch or listen, we will be there. Shout out to the everydayers who join us each and every day. And we'll make the new people feel like they're everydayers too and give you a reason to come back. All right, we'd like to also thank you for listening to Locked On NFL and reminder that you can follow our shows and hear new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. So go check that out. Y'all saw the boys on the marquee down at Times Square, man. That's how we do it here on this show. All right, we have our finger on the pulse of the NFL because we depend on the local experts for Locked On to help navigate us through and keep us advised on everything that's going on. So we'll be using them today. My man, Matt Williams, who's normally here with me on Friday, is in Ireland with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as is Chris Carter, who for Locked On Steelers, he was there yesterday. So running a little solo action today, but we'll give you the same thing. I'll tell you exactly where we're going. All right. Late in the show, we're going to do a whip around and pick them. I'm going to pick them. Tell you what FanDuel says about each one of these games. Also, in the middle of the show, I'm going to tell you why Tua is not the franchise quarterback in Miami, in case you haven't figured that out for yourself already. We're going to start talking about the Packers and the Cowboys, and it is all about revenge. I don't care what anybody in Dallas says. I think somebody pointed out that Dak Prescott says this is the Dak versus Micah game. No, Micah loves you, Dak, but Micah will run you over to prove a point right there in Big Dallas that they made a mistake by letting him go. And then from the Packers side, they have actually bigger fish to fry than worrying about revenge. I know that, but for Micah, come on, man. And when it's one of your guys, you want them to kind of feel good. That's why, anytime a team plays a team and you have a player who's a free agent who used to play for that team, he's a captain for that game. Like Eric Murray, the safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who played for Houston just last year, and before that, was a captain the other day. Normally isn't a captain, but he was a captain. Anytime that's what happens because they know what it means to have you. Christian Kirk was a captain for Houston. He a captain every week, but he was playing against his old team in Jacksonville. Everyone is conscious of the fact that these games are big for certain reasons. But to be honest, that little hiccup that Green Bay had last week in Cleveland in a game that probably ruined a whole bunch of people's parlays and everything else kind of makes this look a little bit different for Green Bay, and they got to really, really come in focus. There was a crossover edition with both Marcus Mosher from Locked On Cowboys as well as Peter Bukowski. We're going to play a clip from both of those games. Bukowski, of course, with Locked On Packers, and then we'll come back and talk about more about the Packers versus the Cowboys.
We mentioned big-time stage. What kind of fight do you have in this game? You are way undermanned when it comes to talent. And even if the Cowboys were healthy, they would have been in trouble here. But you mentioned it. No CeeDee Lamb. No Jonathan Mingo, who would have been, a guy that could potentially replace CeeDee Lamb in the starting lineup. No Tyler Booker, no Cooper Beebe. So that's 2/5 of your offensive line that are out. The defense has been an issue all year long. I think for Cowboy fans, this is a big game to see what they have in Brian Schottenheimer, because if they come out and lay an egg and there's just no fight and it's clear that things are going in the wrong direction, that's going to be really concerning. But if the Cowboys make this a game, and I'm not saying win, but if they could keep it close to the fourth quarter and you see the effort there and you see them playing above their talent level, I think even in a loss, that could get you excited about the direction of this team long-term.
It really could get you excited. Green Bay better watch out. You lost last week to Cleveland, and everybody outside of Myles Garrett, ain't nobody getting excited for the Cleveland Browns, and they beat you. You only scored 10 points. You better watch out. Don't go into Dallas thinking it's sweet, because revenge works both ways. Those guys want to prove also they love Micah Parsons, but they want to prove, okay, we're still good. We're sick of people just talking about us not being good just because we lost one player. Don't pay attention, and this is the same thing I've told Jaguar fans about the injured 49ers. Do not look at the injury report. This game is bigger than that. It's about more important things than that, and it's one of the night games that's going to cap off the weekend for the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Green Bay Packers. And all eyes going to be on Micah Parsons as he makes his return. I want him to play well because I think in this league, special players, like Cleveland was led last week by Myles Garrett. Special players are hard to come by. When you get one, they need to retire or at least play the majority of their career with the team that drafted them. The Pittsburgh Steelers have gotten off to a little bit slower start than we expected. Even though they're 2-1, they really haven't played that well. Somebody who has been decent is Aaron Rodgers. You can't blame him for Pittsburgh not looking like Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers has actually been super efficient. Here's from another crossover with my man Chris Carter and Luke Braun of Locked On Steelers and Locked On Vikings.
So far, I think Aaron Rodgers has delivered in ways that people can appreciate, but there's still that never-ending wonder of like, hey, when is it going to completely shut down for him? He's 41 years old. When is he just going to turn into this old, decrepit man that can't throw anymore, can't protect himself? And he's behind a young offensive line that's still figuring a lot of things out. Last week was the first week that they didn't allow him to get sacked, but he still took some hits. And so there's that constant question of, can he stay alive all season in the Steelers offense? But there's not a question of his efficiency. Right now, the Steelers have the second best red zone offense in the NFL, and it's entirely because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, man, I'm still not used to seeing 8. Well, first of all, I'm not used to seeing Aaron Rodgers at number 8. I think about number 12, but I'm not used to seeing him in anything other than a Packer uniform. This looks weird, man. I remember I saw this from some quarterbacks when I grew up. I'm like, he ain't supposed to have that uniform on. He's supposed to have the other one on. But here we are. I eventually think that they're going to get it right in Pittsburgh and find a nice little hot spot. Don't know if they'll ever be good enough to beat one of the really elite teams. Right now, that's Buffalo. Who's elite in the AFC? Buffalo, the Chargers, I believe. And I know the Kansas City Chiefs will be getting some wide receivers back here over the next few weeks. And then we still can't count out the Baltimore Ravens, who are right there in that division. But I'm telling you, man, I'm looking forward to Pittsburgh to making a little bit of a move here to try to get themselves back on track, or at least to the point where their defense is playing well once they get some people back on that side of the ball. As far as Minnesota's concerned, Carson Wentz, it might be good for J.J. McCarthy to sit and watch Carson Wentz. I know you don't get better. You only get better by playing on the field. You don't really get better by watching. But sometimes I think a young player who can watch someone who can function this offense, like it didn't get past me that T.J. Hawkinson had his best game of the year last week in a game where Carson Wentz played, because he understands the importance of a tight end in that West Coast type offense. And he knows that Hawkinson is one of his best players. I think the young kid was trying to push the ball down the field a lot. And now maybe by standing on the sideline, he has a little bit of a look and can understand you can still get the ball down the field, but it's okay to get first downs before you get touchdowns, because first downs give you an opportunity to be on the field longer so you can get those touchdowns. I think McCarthy wants to go for it all and, of course, give that ball to Justin Jefferson as much as he can. I think it'll behoove him a little bit to watch this weekend. But that game is at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday. Don't forget, it's in Ireland, so your day gets off to a little bit of a quicker start than normal. There's something going on in South Florida that's been going on for a minute, but now I think it's finally to the point where we can get to the judgment that says that Tua Tagovailoa is not a franchise quarterback. I'll tell you why I feel that way in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Square. All right, listen, this episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. There are places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I'm telling you, man, there's local spots all over the place, whether it's barbershops, the taco place right down the street from me here on Yellow Bluff, all of these spots, my wife's favorite coffee shop too. They take Square and make payment very, very easily. It's a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world, and you can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you buy, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. And today's show is also sponsored and brought to you and presented by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered. Powered by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it mattered most. Let's break it down. We were talking about my man Brian Thomas Jr. He might not have played well all day, but he made the one catch when he needed the most, a catch and run for 46 yards that all but sealed the Jaguars' second win of the season. That's my man. And just like Brian Thomas Jr. delivered for the Jacksonville Jaguars, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it all up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. We are rolling along here on Locked On NFL. I'm Tony Wiggins, sitting up here in the barbershop like we do all the time. Running a little solo dolo today. So is Tua Tagovailoa. He seems like a dude that is running out of support from a lot of people in Miami that was hoping that once he got, once he was able to play on the field and be on the field because of the concerns about his concussions, that his play would be better. He has weapons surrounding him and there's a lot of speed. Mike McDaniel, a coach that is known as someone who can really, really make that offense go. But for some reason, it has not worked out. Even his staunch supporters are now saying, I don't think he's the biggest problem. But with quarterbacks, you're not looking for whether or not they're the problem or not. You're looking about whether or not they are the solution. Seems like to me, Kyle Krabs might be one of those people that's going to be out on Tua if he doesn't turn it around. Here's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins.
And the concern is if he doesn't show the growth, well, there's certain teams that can take away what you do well, but even that doesn't prepare you for what we've seen from Tua thus far this season, which is significant, what has felt like significant regression in at least 2 of the 3 games. Never mind the end game sequence against New England. I thought he played a better overall game in that game. But against Buffalo and against Cincinnati, like the execution of the stuff that's made him so impactful hasn't been there.
Yeah. So Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, I think, is a big fan of Tua. I'm not. And I just think there's more to being a quarterback than being able to throw the ball and being able to be an anticipatory thrower of the football. My problem with Tua is the way he presents himself, if you will, when he's on the microphone. I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong at press conferences, but I am saying that when whatever he's putting out, it doesn't resonate with me, and I think it may not resonate with other people as a leader. I believe it would if his play was better. If his play was better, it seems like the conversation that he often has when he's on the podium would be accepted. But he talks like a dude, man, that has it all down, and then he comes across a little bit as a dude that's a bit of a finger pointer, a little bit. And he lacks a little leadership, in my opinion. I don't think guys want to play for him the way that you see guys who run through a brick wall for their quarterbacks. And I think that comes along with him. Not an indictment on him as an individual or a person. It's just that for me, something is missing. Something is missing. When you think a guy is your franchise quarterback and you pay him that much money, and granted, I cover a team here in Jacksonville where there's a lot of people with the same questions, but I don't ever question Trevor Lawrence's leadership as much as some of the decision making. I like Trevor when he's getting in trouble more than I like Trevor when things are going good. When things are going good with Trevor Lawrence, it seems like that's when he gets a little loose. I know that's a NASCAR term, but yeah, you go around that turn, you get a little loose. I like Trevor when things are not going well because he gets gritty, and that's what I like. I like guys that play better when they're in a little bit of trouble. Tua doesn't seem like he's that dude because right now the Miami Dolphins are in a little bit of trouble. and they're going backwards as a franchise. And I wouldn't be surprised if they started not just him all over at quarterback, but a whole bunch of people after this season. The Detroit Lions sure look like the Detroit Lions of old. You got to watch how I say that, because for years the Detroit Lions were the laughingstock of the league, but the Detroit Lions are now one of those teams that over the last few years has been really, really dominating on the football field, especially during the regular season. They looked really good the other night against the Baltimore Ravens in stretches. But Terry Arnold doesn't seem like he has impressed Matt Derry as a dude that's going to take that next step in his second year. A lot of guys have these second-year slumps, I call them. Listen to what Matt Derry from Locked On Lions says about cornerback Terry Arnold.
Terry Arnold right now, according to Pro Football Focus, out of the 83 cornerbacks that have been on the field for 100 snaps, he is 77th out of 83 in pass coverage. He has struggled. Had a better second half of the game on Monday night against Baltimore, but in the first half, picked on a couple of times. The DPI, defensive pass interference in the end zone on DeAndre Hopkins. And so today, when Campbell was asked about the struggles of Terry Arnold, Campbell said, quote, he's a young player and he's working at it and he's going to get better.
Yep, that's usually what people say when you're in trouble and you ain't quite living up to expectations, but played good enough that they're not giving up on him. However, he's doing a podcast now with Patrick Surtain. So now the microscope might get bigger because people say, if you got time, you know how it goes. Shaq couldn't shoot free throws. Why is he making videos? And as if somebody's going to be practicing that all day long. But the thing is you put a little bit of a bullseye on your back when you sit on podcasts and do what we do for a living. And shout out to you, rightfully so. More power to you. But I'm going to tell you something. If you don't play well, people, the first thing somebody's going to say is, we wasn't doing that podcast. So Terry Arnold still has a little bit of work to do. I like Terry Arnold. Terry Arnold was trained and coached that I consider a friend when he was in high school before he even went to Alabama. Hopefully for his sake, he can get it together, man, and he won't be the link that people are pointing to as why Detroit can't get what they're supposed to get. Aiden Hutchinson looked like he's back. He had a forced fumble and a sack the other night in critical times, and they were putting all this pressure on Lamar Jackson. The offense looks well. The offensive line that people thought was a question, they figured that out. Now they look just like the Detroit Lions of last year that had Frank Ragnow and all of those dudes. So Detroit might be on the come up. And that's why it's important for Green Bay to keep the main thing, and not worry about revenge and go down to Dallas and do what they got to do, because Detroit looks like they're ready to be the Detroit Lions that they have been the last couple of years. And John Morton seems to be doing really good. And I got to tell you, the new defensive coordinator, man, who used to be the linebackers coach, he got promoted. I met him a few years back in Mobile. He is doing a good job replacing Aaron Glenn. So what will they do this weekend? There's a full slate of games to go through. We're going to do them. We're going to whip around and pick them. I'll tell you what FanDuel says about them. Also, we'll do it in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show sponsored by our friends over at Mazda, because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety picks awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, full slate of games here on this weekend number 4. We've already mentioned that Pittsburgh and Minnesota get going at 9:30 a.m. Wherever you watch that, make sure you check it out. I think Pittsburgh's going to win the game, even though Carson Wentz scares me, because if J.J. McCarthy was starting, I would definitely pick them. Carson Wentz is a veteran. He's been around. I do think the Pittsburgh Steelers pull this out. In Ireland, the Rooney family, come on, man. It's just only what they say. FanDuel has them at plus 2.5. Not going to tell you what to do. You can just take them straight up money line, or you can play with that point spread if you want. But I'm just telling you, I think Pittsburgh Steelers is going to get the day off started with a win. Although Brian Flores is scary. I saw that they held Cincinnati to 6 points and scored multiple times on defense. So that's going to be a tough game. The game of the day for a lot of people. Seems like any game involving the Philadelphia Eagles is always the game of the day because they're the defending Super Bowl champs. But Tampa, they go to Tampa. They haven't fared well in Tampa the last couple of years. Tampa Bay is it's plus 3.5 for the Bucs. So basically what that means is Minnesota's a 2.5 point favorite because you got a giveaway of points. And now Philadelphia's a 3.5 point favorite. I'm taking Tampa. I'm going to take the Bucs. I heard Chris Godwin's playing too. These guys are healthy. If they get Vita Vea and Tristan Wirfs back, this will be a better indication of where both of these teams are. But Philly's played a bunch of close games. They've had a tough schedule because they got a first-place schedule. They have played a bunch of close games so far. I think Tampa pulls this one out. I think they got a lot of firepower on offense. You talk about bad versus good. The New Orleans Saints, the fighting Ross Jacksons. They go up to face the Buffalo Bills. I just knocked everything off my desk, but that's all right. Buffalo's going to beat them. You take Buffalo. FanDuel has it as a 15.5 points, so that is self-explanatory. Could those Cleveland Browns sneak up and do to the Detroit Lions what they actually did last week to the Green Bay Packers? If you ask me, the answer is no, and I think FanDuel agrees. You got to give away those 9.5 points if you want to play that game, but Detroit is the pick for me in that game. The Tennessee Titans are winless. They go to Houston. As a Jacksonville Jaguars, somebody who covers the Jaguars, this is like watching two of your enemies fight each other, and you got to break it up. So you go over there real slow and let them beat the heck out of each other. I think Houston's going to be fine in this game, 7.5 points. I don't know if they're going to win it by that much, but that's up to you to decide over on FanDuel. But I will agree and concur that I think Houston's going to win that game. The undefeated Los Angeles Chargers come all the way out east to play the New York Giants. This is a risky game because of obviously the time difference, and they'll be playing on what feels like to them at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the Giants actually have a good defense. The problem with the Giants is they're starting a rookie quarterback against Jim Harbaugh. And maybe he plays well like a kid that rides a roller coaster. Like he don't know why he needs to be scared. Because I won't get on a roller coaster as a grown-up, but I would have as a kid. It's because I don't have enough sense to be scared. Or maybe Jackson Dart does a little bit of that and lets it fly. And the fact that the Chargers haven't seen a whole bunch of them, maybe that helps them stick around for a while. But I anticipate that the Chargers minus 6.5 from FanDuel is going to win that game. The Commanders and the Falcons, this is another trick game because they got the Falcons as a 2.5 point favorite, but they looked awful last week and get slaughtered by the Carolina Panthers. Washington is probably going to be without Jaden Daniels again, and I think if Jaden Daniels were playing, Washington would be the favorite. I'm going with the Commanders. I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm not going for the NFL formula aspect, thinking that just because Atlanta lost last week that they're going to regroup this year. I think Raheem Morris is in a little bit of danger, and he's got to tread carefully, or he's going to get run out of town with a pink slip just like everybody else. He was on my candidates list early this week, and I have not changed. Carolina got that big win last week. I don't anticipate they're going to get it this week, but if they do, that would mean the team that they're visiting in the New England Patriots are not as far along as we anticipated that they might be because of all those people that they grabbed in free agency. So I'm going to go with the Patriots. It's a 5.5 point spread for the Patriots. You got to get those points away if you take New England, unless you run at money line. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the Patriots. I think I'm just going win or loss. You can do that other stuff all you want, but I'm going with the Patriots to break that streak of 1 games, win it. Interesting matchup, though. I do want to see. I think Christian Gonzalez is playing. I want to see him and Teteroy McMillan matched up. And then you get to see these 2 young quarterbacks to see who's going to take that next step. Drake May got banged up last week. He was Drake May was fighting for his life last week, so we'll see how that goes. The undefeated Indianapolis Colts are underdogs in Los Angeles against the Rams. This is a tricky little game here because Devontae Adams has a hamstring issue that made him questionable, and because he didn't practice 2 days this week, that put him on the bad side of questionable, if you will. And they haven't even exploded on offense yet. But I think this is the weekend Daniel Jones may come back down a notch. But if he doesn't, we're going to be talking about the Colts in a whole different way come Monday morning. And I'm sure Tyler Rowland will have that for you early as the madman wakes up real early to hit you with a double shot of espresso. Make sure you check that out. Now, I'm biased at this next game because my Jacksonville Jaguars that I cover on a daily basis go to San Francisco to visit the banged up 49ers. -3 for the 49ers. I'm going with the Jags to win straight up. And I think that should do you pretty good on FanDuel. That's right. The Jaguars have to be careful not to pay attention to the injury report from the 49ers and not go out there and get all dialed up because they think this game is easy. The good thing about losing a game early in the year that you really feel like you shot yourself in the foot is you kind of caution against doing that. And I think that's what's going to happen with the Jaguars. The game of the day late before we get to the other game of the week, the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs. Somebody's about to be 1-3. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the Chiefs playing at home or is it going to be Baltimore? Well, Baltimore's the favorite, 2.5 points going against Kansas City. At some point, one of these teams is going to get off the schneid. The other one might be looking, they might be looking up. They might be looking up a long ways as these other teams like the Colts going to win their division. Depends what the Jaguars do. There are 3 wild cards, but I don't think either one of these teams are going to win their division with the way it's going right now. Baltimore's only a game behind Pittsburgh, I believe, but still, it's tough. I think Lamar Jackson gets a little bit of the stuff off of his back, the bad luck of losing these games against Kansas City and Buffalo. I think they beat the Chiefs. The Chicago Bears, who surprised the Dallas Cowboys, who we'll mention in just a second, last week, they visit the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are a hard team to figure out. I wonder if somebody needs to tell Geno Smith that Brock Bowers is actually on the team. Yeah, he's your best offensive player. Let's just get it done, all right? I'm going with the Bears in this game. I think the Bears, they're 1.5 point underdogs according to FanDuel. I think the Bears are going to win it. Green Bay at Dallas. The other game, it'll be on at 8:20 at night is the Sunday night football game. Going with the Green Bay Packers. I think they have too much talent, and then I think they want to win it from Micah. And I think Jerry's going to watch a dude go out there and terrorize his team all night that he traded away. He's going to talk about all the assets he got and all the things that he got and how many players he got. I can't wait to the post game, especially if the Packers win and Micah Parsons goes out there looking like Lawrence Taylor like he usually does. The New York Jets visit the Miami Dolphins, who I just spoke of earlier. I think Aaron Glenn gets his first win, although FanDuel puts him as a 2.5 point underdog. I'm going with the Jets. I think the Dolphins are a hot mess. And I think the Jets have played with some toughness, even though they're going to do it with a backup because their quarterback Fields, I think he's in concussion protocol. But Tyrod Taylor, I think, is going to lead them. I think they're going to do it running the football and protecting their quarterback, keeping it close to the vest. The Denver Broncos host the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are in trouble, and Zach Taylor is another one of those dudes. He's in a foot race with Raheem Morris and Mike McDaniel and Brian Callahan about who's going to get fired first. I think the Broncos recover and win. They're -7.5 right now, according to FanDuel. Monday night, we have the San Francisco 49ers at the Rams. No, that's not Monday night. No, Monday night was the Cincinnati Bengals and the Denver Broncos. That's right. That game is next week. San 49ers play the Jaguars. What am I thinking? So Monday night game here, the Bengals and the Broncos, I already told you, I think Denver's going to pull that game out, and Cincinnati is going to be back to being put out of their misery. All right, man. Thank y'all for being here. Make sure you tap in to Tyler Rowland early in the morning. Wake up with a double shot of espresso from the madman and then slide back through the barbershop. We'll have all of this weekend's action for you. Check in with your local affiliate, whoever covers the Jaguars, whatever city you're in. post-game shows, squad shows, all of that. Locked On is always here, as we always are, wherever you get your podcast. You guys have a great weekend. I'll do the same. Thanks for joining us again here on Locked On NFL and spending 30 minutes with us.